Like it will entirely transform how we, use money. I think so. It's just a matter of time. I'm Hannah Rosenberg, and I do a lot of stuff in Chicago. I try to go to all the events that was possible until like last year. Now I have no idea what kind of events there are in Chicago. I try to go to a lot of them. I'm also the organizer for the Bitcoin and Open Blockchain meetup here in Chicago, so I actually organize a lot of events via that community. I first heard about cryptocurrency in 2011. I was very into monetary theory and alternative currencies, and one of my favorite podcasts, econtalk.org, had something up, and I just read the title. I was like, oh, this has something to do with money. Okay, I'll listen to it. And it was 2011, and it was a podcast about Bitcoin. But at the time, my head was in commodity-backed alternative currencies. So I put it on and I listened to it for about 10, 15 minutes, and I'm like, magic internet money backed by nothing, that's rubbish, turned it off, But it wouldn't go away, and so about a year later in mid-2012, I just finally sat down like, all right, I'm gonna read about this thing, and then just it hit me that, holy crap, this might actually work. And then I just fell in love, been obsessed ever since. Dramatically, I would say pretty overwhelmingly positive. Been a lot of really awesome experiences. Things have changed so much lately, but it was really awesome. As when I first got back to Chicago in 2014, I just instantly tried to go to every meetup I could find. And in 2014, a Bitcoin meetup was the back room at someone's office with me and 5 other people, and you'd walk in there and 3 of those people are crazy and the other 2 people are still my best friends. So that was really awesome, and now it's changed a lot, and who's in the space has just expanded dramatically. But I'd say overwhelmingly you meet, I just love being in the room at a Bitcoin or cryptocurrency event, because that's where the coolest people are, really awesome people in general. Well, it's changing so much, since mid last year, mid 2017, it's just changed dramatically. And I think when I first started running the meetup or just being at meetups, or anytime I would talk to anyone about Bitcoin, I would always ask them, how did you get into this? And there would be sort of 3 you'd have your tech nerd person, you'd have your hardcore libertarian, or you'd have your investor dude, That'd be those 3 people. And then since about mid 2017, that's changed dramatically. So now it's business people, it's lawyers, it's accountants, it's just, all kinds of business professionals. So the scene has changed dramatically, but overall you get a lot of, intelligent, interested, curious people that are good to have conversations with. So
awesome.
It's awesome, yeah. So we call it BOB for short, Bitcoin and Open Blockchain, and it's BOB Community Chicago. And I am the organizer, but I organize it with, right now it's me and Ben and Ian, who do most of the actual work of, calling a place and booking it and ordering pizza and all that good, event planning stuff that we do. But we have 3 major goals for the meetup. So one is just to establish a thriving community in Chicago. The second, we're really focusing a lot on educational stuff this year. So we want to be a resource for people, especially new people coming into this world, to find educational resources and provide quality education. And third, we just aim to connect Chicago to the broader Bitcoin Open Blockchain community. So, by bringing people in and, just putting on really awesome events here in Chicago.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
So we do workshops, which are sort of bigger general interest events, usually on a Saturday afternoon. We might have a speaker come in and talk about a particular project that they're working on, and that's, a sort of broad general interest event. We're also doing a developer series, which is aimed specifically at developers. So, we expect people to have some sort of technical skills before they come in, and then we do sort of a smaller event on like a weekday evening where we'll do a deep dive into a specific technical topic. And then hopefully soon we're also going to be doing some blockchain 101 kind of events. I think we're going to time that for the next time, we hit a new all-time high and everyone goes nuts and there's lots of new people at the meetup, then we'll do a Bitcoin 101 type of event. Well, I do a lot of e-commerce stuff. So that's sort of, it's where my head is at the moment. I was actually at a client's office yesterday and they're dealing with some credit card fraud stuff, and so I bit my tongue for about a minute and a half before I was like, Bitcoin! Bitcoin will solve all these problems, but not right now, because there's all these other things you have to deal with before you can accept it on your websites. There's a lot of hurdles there, but just things like, credit cards are just incredibly outdated, crappy technology for e-commerce websites. And so crypto is just dramatically better there. I mean, it's a very different sort of thing, so then there are other problems you have to worry about, but it's, credit card fraud would just be gone if we were all using crypto. So there are a lot of advantages. And, then there's just the obvious monetary theory stuff where we're fairly spoiled here in the States, where I don't think any of us have, if we grew up here, has ever lived through a currency crisis, but in most parts of the world, people have. And so I think, that's a very good reason to like crypto, is because, especially with, an open blockchain, you can't just inflate it away and destroy the currency. So that's a huge advantage. Velas Commerce actually started in 2014 when I first got back to Chicago. So I was in Australia, spent 5 years in Australia, and that's where I was when I fell in love with Bitcoin. And then came back to Chicago for, family reasons. It's where all the family is. And so when I got back, I'm like, instantly, I'm going to set up a Bitcoin consultancy, and what I'm going to do is help people accept Bitcoin on their website. Like, that's what I want to do. So straight back, as soon as we got back, I set it up straight away. But I just found that the market wasn't quite there yet, and it's still not quite there yet, because primarily at this point, I think because of tax concerns. I think the technology is good enough at this point, especially I'm really excited about, the Lightning Network. So that could be really awesome. But the tax situation in the States is still pretty crappy for e-commerce uses. So I get more and more interest in people taking crypto on their websites, which is really awesome. But, who's going to pay capital gains taxes on a t-shirt they bought on their website? That's so hard. It's just that paperwork is just, that tracking is prohibitive to that happening. But I'm hoping that'll change. And yeah, so I've been in love with e-commerce, prior to Bitcoin. So as soon as the situation was right, it's like, that's what I'm doing. Bitcoin e-commerce consultancy, yeah. So. Well, we do e-commerce stuff, obviously, and we help people integrate, crypto payments into their website. And, if someone wants to sell something on OpenBazaar, that kind of thing, we'd help them with that. We also do consultancy. Really what that means is, you tell me about your project and I talk myself out of paid work by telling you why you don't need a blockchain. Or sometimes it means connecting people to resources. That's what I do a lot. And then we do a lot of training stuff. So we do one-day courses, and we have a course that's, just Bitcoin Blockchain 101 designed for business professionals. That's just you walk in that morning and you spend the whole day in the course, and hopefully you walk out having a pretty solid foundation for understanding, what the technology is and what the ecosystem is. And we're also working on a mining course, which should be lots of fun. So yeah, those three things: e-commerce, consulting, and training. Where do you find a developer? That's like the number one question. And I do not have a secret stash of developers, so I can't, sometimes I cannot help people there. But they're looking to connect with resources, and that's often developers, and those are just hard to come by, and that's kind of how I wound up doing a lot of educational stuff as well, because you realize there's just this huge need for these services that don't quite exist at the moment. So. that's part of what we're doing via the meetup, is we're trying to just put on events for developers so people with some technical skills can come in and learn a bit more about crypto. And I hope that some of them will go, yay, I want to do this. And we're also trying to bring more resources, training resources into Chicago, so we're working on some stuff there. And there's lots of things in the works, creating educational resources specifically for developers in Chicago. So, yeah.
That's great.
Tax laws. Number one thing. If only the tax laws were a little bit different. Coin Center is working on trying to get an exemption, I think, for like transactions under $600, then capital gains wouldn't apply. And I've just been pestering the poor people at Coinbase, like, how is it going? How's it going? Can I help? What can I do? I'm just so hoping that would change. But I've also, looked around and said, okay, maybe the tax situation is not so great in the States. What about other parts of North America? And you find that in a lot of places, there's incredible uncertainty because there's just no idea what the tax situation is going to be. So I think if that's as far as Velas Commerce, what I would love to see happen is there to be a better tax situation and a lot of clarity, some more clarity around that. And that would be really great for my business, I think, for e-commerce stuff in general in the States. Well, I spent a lot of time in Chicago, because, family and all that, so I haven't explored a lot of other communities, but I think we have a lot of really awesome people here and a lot of sort of, at this point you'd call them sort of old school Bitcoin people, who really care a lot about having quality community. And that means not just, people pitching ICOs or investment opportunity, but just, really solid community with really quality discussions. It's not all about, the price and, making, get rich quick and that sort of stuff. And so I think we just have a lot of people with really solid intentions, working hard to put on awesome stuff here in Chicago. So it's really awesome to be a part of that, because some places I've seen some things. I see all kinds of things for the future of crypto. It was probably like early 2013. I can't remember exactly when it was. It was might still have been 2012, when WordPress.org started accepting Bitcoin donations. I don't know why, for me, that was the moment when I'm just like, this is gonna happen. I was just thrilled. It was that moment when I was just sure, I knew it. But it's been strange. In some ways it happened very slowly, in some ways it happened very quickly, but in some ways it's just absolutely blown my mind what already has happened and how well things have gone so far. So I am just hugely optimistic for how it will go. And it's hard to say, will we all be, paying our rent and buying cups of coffee with crypto in 10 years? Maybe 20, maybe 30, I don't know. But I really think it's going to be everywhere sooner or later. Like, it will entirely transform how we, use money. I think so. It's just a matter of time. So, very optimistic there. People can learn more about Velas Commerce at velascommerce.com. So we have a web page up there, and we have a resource page, and we have a training page, so you can see all the training stuff that we're up to. And we have a sorely neglected blog that hopefully will have some content there soon. And we have a Twitter account too. I think it's just at Velas Commerce.